Welcome to an inspiring journey with Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers in history. Socrates, who lived over 2,400 years ago in Athens, was not just a teacher but a revolutionary thinker who inspired generations to contemplate life and ethics. Today, we explore his quotes that challenge our minds and encourage us to live a life filled with critical thinking. Get ready to discover his wisdom, which continues to illuminate our path in today's world, where he stated, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Let's begin. The soul, like the body, accepts by practice whatever habit one wishes it to contact. Socrates emphasized that just as physical habits shape the body, mental and ethical habits shape the soul. Regular practice of virtues molds a strong, ethical character. The beginning of wisdom is wonder. Socrates believed that curiosity and wonder are the first steps on the path to wisdom. By staying curious, we remain open to learning and personal growth. The most virtuous are those who content themselves with being virtuous without seeking to appear so. True virtue is not performative. Socrates valued authenticity in ethics, advocating for virtue as an inner quality rather than a means to gain approval. To love beauty is to see light. Beauty, to Socrates, was connected to enlightenment and truth. By appreciating beauty, we open ourselves to greater understanding and inspiration. He is richest who is content with the least, for contentment is the wealth of nature. Socrates believed that contentment is a form of wealth. By wanting less, we achieve inner peace and fulfillment. When you want wisdom and insight as badly as you want to breathe, it is then you shall have it. The desire for wisdom must be intense and purposeful. Socrates encouraged a passion for knowledge as essential to achieving insight. Bad men live that they may eat and drink, whereas good men eat and drink that they may live. Socrates criticized a life driven by indulgence, suggesting that wise individuals see sustenance as a means to live virtuously, not the purpose of life. True knowledge exists in knowing that you know nothing. Socrates held that recognizing the limits of our knowledge is the foundation of wisdom. This humility keeps us open to continuous learning. The difficulty, my friends, is not in avoiding death, but in avoiding unrighteousness, for that runs faster than death. He emphasized that living righteously is more challenging than fearing or avoiding death, as moral compromise is often easier but detrimental. There is no evil greater than ignorance. Socrates believed that ignorance leads to poor choices and negative consequences. Gaining knowledge is a means to a good life. He who is hardest to offend finds it easiest to forgive. Socrates saw resilience and forgiveness as interlinked. Those who aren't easily angered can more readily let go of grievances. Death may be the greatest of all human blessings. Socrates saw death as a natural part of life, potentially bringing peace and freeing us from earthly struggles. He encouraged accepting mortality with calm. Knowledge is a process of piling up facts. Wisdom lies in their simplification. For Socrates, wisdom wasn't just about accumulating information but understanding and simplifying knowledge to its essential truths. To do is to be. Socrates believed that actions define who we are. What we choose to do in life shapes our identity and character more than words or intentions. The highest realms of thought are impossible to reach without first attaining an understanding of compassion. Socrates taught that true wisdom includes compassion. Without understanding others' experiences, one cannot fully grasp higher truths. Happiness is unrepentant pleasure. Socrates saw happiness as joy that doesn't lead to regret. True happiness aligns with virtue and ethical living, not fleeting pleasures. There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. Socrates placed knowledge as the highest virtue, viewing ignorance as the root of wrongdoing and misjudgment. It is better to change an opinion than to persist in a wrong one. Socrates valued intellectual flexibility. Being willing to change one's mind in the face of truth shows wisdom and humility. Nothing is to be preferred before justice. Justice was a core principle for Socrates. He believed that living justly is fundamental, even if it means sacrificing other comforts. How can you wonder your travels do you no good, when you carry yourself around with you? Socrates argued that self-awareness, not external circumstances, is the key to growth. Wherever we go, we bring our thoughts, habits, and unresolved issues with us. True wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we understand about life, ourselves, and the world around us. Socrates believed that accepting our limitations opens the path to wisdom. True understanding starts with humility. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Socrates warned against mindless activity. Being constantly busy without purpose or reflection can lead to an unfulfilled life. An unconsidered life is not worth living. This is one of Socrates' most famous teachings. He urged us to reflect on our actions, beliefs, and goals, as meaning and growth come from self-examination. To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. Self-knowledge, for Socrates, is fundamental. Understanding ourselves, our strengths, weaknesses, and motives, is the foundation of wise living. All wars are fought for the acquisition of wealth. Socrates viewed material desires as the root of much conflict. He believed that reducing attachment to wealth could lead to a more peaceful society. In all of us, even in good men, there is a lawless wild beast nature, which peers out in sleep. Socrates acknowledged the presence of base instincts in everyone, even the virtuous. Recognizing our nature allows us to cultivate self-control. The end of life is to be like God, and the soul following God will be like him. Socrates believed that striving to embody divine virtues, truth, love, justice, was the ultimate purpose of life. Understanding a question is half an answer. By fully comprehending a question, we are already closer to finding the answer. Socrates encouraged clarity and patience in thought. If a man would move the world, he must first move himself. Personal growth and change are prerequisites to influencing others. Socrates taught that we must embody the change we wish to inspire. Wisdom is knowing what you don't know. Socrates saw true wisdom as rooted in intellectual humility. Recognizing our limits prevents overconfidence and opens the door to learning. The way to achieve a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. Socrates encouraged authenticity. Gaining respect is a result of genuinely embodying the values and traits we admire. The hour of departure has arrived, and we go our separate ways. I to die, and you to live. Which of these is better, only God knows. Socrates, facing death, accepted it as part of the unknown. This reflects his acceptance of life's mysteries and the idea that some things are beyond human judgment. No one is qualified to become a statesman who is entirely ignorant of the problem of wheat. Socrates believed that true leaders must understand practical, everyday issues. Ruling well requires both wisdom and knowledge of basic human needs. The wise man learns more from his enemies than the fool from his friends. Socrates saw value in criticism and adversity. Challenges can teach us more than constant praise, fostering resilience and growth. False words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. Socrates condemned dishonesty, believing it corrupts both the speaker and listener. Integrity in speech is essential to moral health. Give me beauty in the inward soul, may the outward and the inward man be at one. Socrates prayed for harmony between one's inner values and outward actions, reflecting his belief in living an integrated, authentic life. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Socrates believed that humility and experience in serving others build qualities that make for wise leadership. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. Socrates' paradoxical wisdom is that awareness of ignorance shows a deeper understanding. Knowing limits prevents arrogance and promotes true learning. Living well and beautifully and justly are all one thing. To Socrates, a good life is marked by justice and beauty. He encouraged seeking a harmonious balance of ethics and aesthetics in daily life. I only wish that ordinary people had an unlimited capacity for doing harm, then they might have an unlimited power for doing good. Socrates saw potential in all people. He believed that if people recognized their power to impact the world, they would strive to do good rather than harm. To express oneself badly is not only faulty as far as the language goes, but does some harm to the soul. Socrates saw clear and honest communication as essential. Expressing oneself truthfully and accurately brings clarity to the mind and soul. There is nothing more common than to find considerations which, at first sight, appear to be absolute truths, but, when carefully examined, are seen to be mere appearances. Socrates warned against taking things at face value. Critical thinking is essential to distinguishing truth from illusion. Fame is the perfume of heroic deeds. Socrates saw fame as a natural outcome of virtuous actions, not something to be chased for its own sake. True respect comes from good deeds. The misuse of language induces evil in the soul. Clear, honest language reflects inner virtue. Socrates believed that distorting language harms the speaker's integrity and misleads others. The secret of happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Socrates promoted contentment as key to happiness. By reducing desires, we find joy in simplicity rather than constant accumulation. The hottest love has the coldest end. Socrates observed that intense passions often lead to abrupt endings. Balanced emotions contribute to healthier, longer-lasting relationships. Mankind is made of two kinds of people, wise people who know they're fools, and fools who think they are wise. True wisdom includes humility and self-awareness. Socrates valued the ability to recognize our own limitations. The envious person grows lean with the fatness of their neighbor. Envy only harms the person who feels it. Socrates advised against comparing oneself to others, as it breeds discontent. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. Socrates noted that when people cannot win through reason, they resort to personal attacks. He advocated for rational discussion over name-calling. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. Socrates warned that morality based purely on feelings is unreliable. He believed in objective ethical standards beyond transient emotions. The easiest and noblest way is not to be crushing others, but to be improving yourselves. Socrates encouraged self-improvement over competition. Building one's character brings more fulfillment than diminishing others. One should never do wrong in return, nor mistreat any man, no matter how one has been mistreated by him. Socrates held to a principle of non-retaliation, believing that responding to wrongdoing with virtue maintains integrity and moral strength. He who is hardest to offend finds it easiest to forgive. Resilience in the face of offense fosters forgiveness. Socrates saw forgiveness as a strength of character that prevents ongoing resentment. The fewer our wants, the more we resemble the gods. Socrates believed that a life free of excessive desires brings us closer to divine tranquility and wisdom. It is not living that matters, but living rightly. To Socrates, the quality of life was more important than mere survival. A meaningful life is guided by virtue and purpose. In every person, there is a sun. Just let them shine. Socrates believed in the inherent potential of every individual. Encouragement and support can bring out the best in people. By all means, marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. With humor, Socrates suggested that challenges, including difficult relationships, can inspire reflection and personal growth. Give me beauty in the inward soul, may the outward and the inward man be at one. Socrates valued inner beauty, advocating for harmony between a person's character and their actions. He who seeks to discuss what is good or beautiful or just will only succeed in making others angry if he lacks knowledge of it himself. Socrates cautioned against speaking on values like goodness or justice without a deep understanding. Knowledge, not opinion, should guide ethical discussions. Do not do to others what angers you if done to you by others. Socrates emphasized the importance of empathy and understanding in our actions. Treating others with respect promotes a more just society. To be is to do. This reflects Socrates' belief that our actions define us. Who we are is revealed through what we choose to do in life. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Socrates valued informed choices over quantitative assessments. Wisdom comes from understanding rather than mere data or statistics. Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. Socrates believed that treating others with care fosters loyalty and commitment. Leadership involves nurturing relationships based on trust. I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the world. Socrates championed universal values over national identities. His philosophy encourages a broader understanding of humanity that transcends cultural boundaries. Death is not the worst that can happen to a man. Socrates faced his own mortality with equanimity, believing that a life lived without virtue is worse than death itself. Integrity is paramount. Every action has its pleasures and its price. Socrates recognized that choices come with consequences. Understanding the costs of our actions is essential to living wisely. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. This quote encapsulates Socrates' philosophy of intellectual humility. Acknowledging our ignorance is a critical step towards gaining true knowledge. Wealth is not a good, but a good man is. Socrates believed that moral character is more valuable than material possessions. Virtue leads to a fulfilling life, while wealth alone does not. A life unexamined is not worth living. Socrates insisted on the importance of self-reflection. Continuous introspection is vital for personal growth and understanding our purpose. The greatest blessing granted to mankind comes by way of madness, which is a divine gift. Socrates recognized the fine line between inspiration and madness. Creativity often stems from a departure from conventional thinking. What you cannot enforce, do not command. This reflects Socratic wisdom about the importance of realistic expectations in leadership. Authority should be based on reason and capability. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Socrates believed that fear of truth and knowledge is more tragic than ignorance. Embracing the light of understanding leads to true enlightenment. Goodness is the only thing that is good in itself. For Socrates, goodness was the highest virtue. It exists independently of other values and is essential for a meaningful life. There is no great genius without a touch of madness. Socrates acknowledged that creativity often requires unconventional thinking. Genius can come from challenging norms and embracing risk. A friend to all is a friend to none. Socrates warned against superficial relationships. True friendship requires depth and commitment, not merely broad social connections. Man is the measure of all things. Socrates believed in the importance of human perspective in understanding truth. Our experiences and perceptions shape our reality. Envy is the only sin that is not forgiven. Socrates saw envy as corrosive. Unlike other vices, it doesn't lead to growth or redemption, only further harm. He who knows how to think has no need to pray. Socrates emphasized the importance of rational thought over blind faith. Critical thinking is essential to navigating life's challenges. He who commits injustice is ever made more wretched than he who suffers it. Socrates believed that wrongdoing harms the perpetrator more than the victim. The act of injustice corrupts the soul. Today, we sailed through the world of wisdom and thought with Socrates, delving into this great philosopher's approach to life, truth, and ethics. Through his quotes, we discovered the importance of self-reflection and the continuous search for knowledge. Socrates reminds us that our questions shape us, and that true life lies in the pursuit of understanding. Let us all commit to applying what we've learned today in our daily lives. Let's always seek the truth and subject ourselves to continuous examination, just as Socrates urged. If you enjoyed this intellectual journey, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content. Thank you for watching, and we wish you a life filled with reflection and inspiration.